Welcome to the Short Funk Podcast. I'm Tom Barbalet. I wanted to talk a little bit more about genetics. Through 23andMe, I have found a third cousin who, although she personally didn't know the history, she had family members that could easily connect the history associated with my father's mother's father. So my great-great-grandfather, I think. Maybe an additional great. In any case, this patriarch had a number of children, 9 who lived to adulthood, I think, 12 who were born. And through this, there were many children, many grandchildren, many great-grandchildren. And the family history, from my perspective, was lost because of the nature of my grandparents' migration from the UK, and through the fact that Leeds is really such a nexus of so many different families, so many different Jewish migrant families. Fascinating stuff. And I found this out purely through genetics, purely because my third cousin put her DNA on 23andMe, and I was able to connect with her, and I was like, well, we share the same, name, ancestral name. So here's how I'm connected, which I sent to her, and then she provided to her family historian, and then the family historian provided me the patriarch of this particular group. All very fascinating, and all very rapid, like literally in the past 2 or 3 days. And in contrast to the stuff at work and all this kind of stuff, it's just nice to have these little things appear, little fruits of life that just come down and provide a new and interesting family history. What's particularly interesting is one of my third cousins that I've met, actually, through my grandfather's line, my father's father. Also, we have genetic relations through my father's mother. So I have double the DNA shared that I would have normally if she was a third cousin. And I found through this other relation that I've discovered genetically, this other third cousin, that she is a shared relation with that woman as well, which explains somewhere through the tapestry, some generations back, there's a shared ancestor on 2 sides, which is just fascinating, mathematically fascinating. So yes, I'm living vicariously currently through my genetics, and I wanted to record just a little short funk to give some indication of this. But also, what's fascinating about this is public information. Well, you've got to join the site. You've got to give your DNA in order to join. That's the cost of membership. But through that, you can get amazing resources and amazing understanding. For example, my father's parents were related, a distant relation. This you can see through the genetics perfectly well. And I don't know whether it's mathematically possible. I'd need to go like 5th or 6th cousins out in order to find true possibilities of where the genetic relation lied. But each one of these people, every time DNA is added to this thing, you get a slightly better understanding of histories that were written in the 18th century. And where paper documentation doesn't exist, and this is important, my mother's father's side of the family, everything was documented. My mother's mother, so much, pretty good. But on my father's side of the family, very little was documented. Stuff was thrown away, people migrated, all this kind of stuff. So you're dealing with a different commodity, and the commodity there is genetics. And that's where it's fascinating, because the genetics don't lie. There are mathematical probabilities, there are some inconsistencies, there are some joins through shared ancestors and these kind of things. But if you can work your way through the mathematics and the biology, there are things that you can know to a certain extent. Now, 23andMe, you can go back about 9 generations quite comfortably and find shared ancestry just through how deep they get into the genetic mapping. After that, they can't get quite as deep, and it's a search problem. It's a very difficult search problem, and I understand where it is. But it is fascinating to just take certain family members and work out through shared ancestors where things sit. You do need a narrative history as well. I mean, obviously, contacting this third cousin who didn't know the history but knew a family member who knew the history and could put me in contact with a patriarch. These kind of things need to exist as well. So it's not all genetics. You need some family history too, some oral history, some written down history. But it's all very fascinating how these things come together. And it's an interesting experiment that I would thoroughly recommend to other folk as well, because it gives you an ability to, in my case, I don't use biology in terms of my professional life, but I use it in terms of my hobbies. And I do like biology quite a bit. I mean, I like keeping active, mentally active, associated with these things. So, yeah, a fascinating additional footnote that will no doubt yield future short funks to come. Tom Barbalet in San Jose, signing out.